Hello, this is a short video about how to make a slump mould vessel. The one that I'm making is a dish, but you can choose any shape that you like really. So what you first do is you select some kind of container. It can be any ordinary domestic container. The one that I'm using is just a plastic storage box. Roll out a slab of clay. I've rolled it out here to about just over 1/4 of an inch thick, and then once it's rolled out nice and even, of an even thickness, you drape it over the top of the container. And as you can see, I'm just folding it gently. I'm folding the clay gently so that it sags or slumps into the container. Once it's reached a depth that you're happy with, you just gently compress the edge of the clay around the top. You don't need to do it too hard. And then you take what I've got here. It's an old piece of t-shirt or a sock, even, I can't remember, with some rice in it, and it's tied together with an elastic band, and it just makes quite a nice, smooth, round, soft implement really to press out the mould a little bit more, just to get it to the ideal shape. And then when you have it in the right shape that you're happy with, then you use a needle tool or a knife if you like to remove the excess clay off the top edge. I do this in 2 passes really. First of all, I just do a bit of a rough cut and take off as much as I can without bothering too much about making it tidy, and then I go around a second time with the needle tool, as you will see now. Go around a second time and I run the needle tool around the container, so the needle tool is flush up against the container. You don't need to be too concerned at this point about making it look smooth. Get it as smooth as you can, but you're going to do quite a bit of tidying up later, so it doesn't need to be perfect at the edge. Tidy up what you can, but don't be too worried about it. And you can see there was a little edge there that was a little bit thinner than the rest, so I just decided to add a bit of extra clay on there. There you go, looks quite nice. And then you leave it overnight, or really wait until it's leather hard. I think I left it a couple of nights actually, and it'll pop out of the container fairly easily. You might need to wiggle the container a little bit. A good tip actually is to use a relatively flexible container so you can wiggle it, wiggle the clay free. And then, as you can see, what I'm doing is with a craft knife, I am just taking off the excess. I'm shaping the lip of the vessel, tidying it up with the knife as much as I can. And then you can tidy up the edge with whatever tool works for you. The one that I found worked quite well for this one was the trimming tool. The clay that I'm using here is raku clay, and actually the reason I wanted to hand build with it is because although some people do throw with it, it's got quite a bit of grog in it, and I find it a bit tough on my hands to throw on the wheel with it, so I'm using it to hand build. I know, I don't know why, maybe I'm just a delicate flower and I can't cope with too much grog if I'm throwing at the wheel, so it's nice to hand build with it anyway. It feels quite nice, it's quite sort of solid. So then, yeah, just tidy the edges up, tidy up the details as you want to, really. I mean, you could leave a bit more of a lip on it if you wanted to, than I chose to. And then using that's just a card. You can smooth down the rough surfaces. You can use a metal rib if you want, or a plastic credit card or bank card or whatever you've got lying around. And then tidying it up with a softer rubber rib. And with this piece I did actually compress it down quite a bit because there was quite a bit of grog in the clay. I ran the rib all the way over the whole surface of the piece just to give it a nice smooth finish. So again, I left it overnight, and I'm making a foot ring here, or it's a foot square actually. I just rolled out a slab of clay about 1/2 inch thick, and you can probably see there, I'm going to freeze frame it. You can see there you go, there's a little faint mark on there where I want the foot ring to go, and then I just use the measurements that I've marked out on the clay to cut out a foot ring that is the right size. With a foot ring, again, it's good to make it as tidy as you can, but you don't need to be too precise, because what I do, because the pottery is leather hard, because the dish is leather hard, what I do is I basically create something that is roughly the right size for the foot ring, and then I just leave it overnight on the dish, so that they become roughly the same. They have roughly the same moisture content the next day. So you can see there that I didn't film this, but I cut out the centre of the foot ring. I changed my mind and decided I was going to do a hollow one rather than just a slab. So you can see I've marked on there with a needle tool where the centre of the slab is, the centre of the foot ring is going to be, and I'm just scoring around the base of the dish where the foot ring is going to sit, and then adding some water just to make a bit of slip, and then scoring over again. And of course doing the same thing on the foot ring itself. And the clay was quite dry at this point, so I did make it quite gummy, just to make sure that the foot ring stuck properly. So there, I'm just going over, I'm just refreshing that little bit of slip on the dish itself. And then quite firmly you just position it as accurately as you can and then press it down quite firmly. And then using a wooden tool, just blending the foot ring in with the dish itself. Blending it in the center too. And then I'm tidying it up there with a smaller wooden tool, just trying to shape it, trying to refine the shape a bit. And then sharpening it up with a craft knife. And you can style it however you want, really. You don't need to make it too geometrically precise if you prefer something that looks a bit more I don't know, asymmetrical or a bit more rough and ready. But I felt that quite a precise looking foot ring would be nice on this dish because it's quite a smooth dish, and it's quite even. It's quite like carving and sculpture. It's quite satisfying to do. I'm planning to do a raku fire with this piece, and when I've done it I will put a link in this video to what it looks like once it's finished. And then once it's very solid on there, I use a shredder to just even out the base of the foot ring so it sits evenly on the surface on the table. then just start to tidy it up. Smooth it out again. I'm just using a tiny bit of water there to just smooth out any little rough patches. It's just a tiny bit of water, you don't want to add too much water at this point. And that's a bit of a damp chamois leather, which is really good at just smoothing out final edges and compressing the clay a little bit more. So it's almost done. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as well, and then you'll be notified when I've got other videos coming up too. I really appreciate the support, and it's really good to know if somebody's found the video that I've made helpful. And then just final touches, just tidying up the edges that have got a little bit scuffed whilst I was working on the foot ring. So yeah, chamois leather is very good for just finessing the edges of a piece. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that.